And once again, it's Regina DMP coming to you from the Mental Health Collective. Today, we have a special guest on our show. Um, I'm going to let him introduce himself, but we have something in common. We both have had an encounter with Day Day.
Mm.
So now we're going to hear from our special guest his encounter and what he's learning and how he's basically, I mean, he's actively in this, just like I am. He's actively fighting legally with Day Day. So I want to welcome our special guest.
Hi, how you doing, Miss Regina? Thank you for having me here on the collective.
Oh, wonderful. So I'm gonna let you introduce because I know you are an actor
Hmm.
and you have different names that you go by.
Yes.
So I want you to introduce yourself to
Hmm.
our collective.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. I am Jordan Riley, and on social media, I'm Jordan Riley, the movie star. I am a LA actor. I live here in Los Angeles, Hollywood, and I've been living here. It's going on 7 years on the 25th of this month. So happy New Year, by the way. Moved here 7 years ago to pursue my career in acting, film, television. So I produce films. I'm a director, actor. I write screenplays. I was taught how to write scripts by the Oscars, and model, dancer, and I'm also a singer and rapper as well. So I go by the name Captain Fluid as an artist. Have a song out called Ricky Ricardo. So yeah, those are my aliases or my names: Jordan Riley the movie star, Captain Fluid, Ricky Ricardo, all of that good stuff. Yeah.
So tell us how you came into being at the Budlong property. So the property that I own, kind of
Hmm.
give us a little
Yeah.
history as far as how you encountered and how you met Day Day.
Right. Oh well. Day Day. I'm gonna be respectful for the show. As I told you off camera, we're gonna continue to say Day Day, but everybody out there in the other platforms, y'all know I'm gonna put it out there as it is. But first, I want to say thank you for being you, and thank you for being a good person. From the first moment that I met you, the spirit told me to reach out to you, and I was a little apprehensive because of things that was going on, but God kept hitting me saying, "Call her, call this woman." Um, so you are a true gem to me and my mother and my family and those that I know. And you are a true woman of God and a true healer and an empath. And I want to say thank you for being you, really, from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
Um, your house is beautiful. However, the people that are involved are not. And I got to the Bud Long house because I met Day Day at a facility I was working at and volunteering, which is about 1 year ago this season. It was after I was living in a house and it burned down. Uh,
Speaking of the Altadena
yeah,
fires, correct?
Altadena, Pasadena fires,
Okay.
and I have been traumatized by that. I was financially burdened by that. Um, it was my mother that reached out to me to even tell me it was a fire. So anytime there's a fire here in LA, my mother and my grandmother calls. Oh, it's a fire. And a lot of times the fires are very far away.
Okay.
Well, this time it wasn't far, it was close. And after evacuating, I was Airbnbing. And so the amount of money that I had that should have lasted me longer because the housing situation should have been okay disappeared very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get any assistance from anyone. It was just Airbnbs. I tend to try to move in the spirit and try to take care of myself, even though I tried to look out for resources. But I started volunteering at a place called 930 LA downtown off of Mateo. They typically have R&B parties and they do like club nights and stuff like that. So they turned it into a facility where it was a warehouse to have materials for those who were impacted by the fire. So I was putting in like 6 to 7 hours a day doing work and volunteer work, which was receiving shipment that was coming in. I would sweep the entire warehouse by myself, organizing clothes. We had clothes for men, women, children, babies, toys, books, toiletries, all of those type of things. And so I would show up there. ready to work. I was not really disclosing my situation at first. A lot of people there, everybody there loved me. I was getting along with everybody, especially the ladies. You know, they was trying to figure out who I was. And I slowly started to open up because I have something that I call delayed response because of previous traumas from the fire and from some car crashes that I've gone through here in LA. Not my own. I was hit by a drunk driver, parked. And so going through those things, when you go through traumatic experiences, sometimes it can cause you to kind of freeze up or just go into work mode because you don't want to think about what you're going through. So I was really working hard to not think about the fires and the situation and trying to be very positive. But I ended up opening up and saying, hey, I am one that's affected by the fires. And, and they were saying, are you okay? You need a place to stay. And I said, I'm in an Airbnb right now, but my money is kind of thin. And they kept encouraging me to stay at the 930 LA, and I'm like, where? By the boxes? Where they had another warehouse where they had beds. And so I had started the process to sign up there, because they were going to be extending the time there for people to stay there, and even volunteers. Some of the volunteers were living there, and some of the workers were living there on site. I was not. But that's how I met Day Day. Day Day came in on one of the last days of me working there. That's how I met him. Mm-hmm.
And I would like to point out, you mentioned you've had like car accidents, so you've been through trauma.
Yes.
And a lot of times when we go through trauma, a lot of people don't understand. We talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, but when I was working on Skid Row, I remember one of the sex workers, she said, I don't have PTSD. She said, we don't have PTSD. She said, we have chronic daily stress disorder. And I believe it's important that, because I believe as you tell us more about your story, people don't understand that sometimes you will have a delayed reaction because of past trauma. So there's many reasons why a person may not report something to the police immediately, why they may stay within a particular situation for a prolonged period before they tell anyone anything. So tell us more about like once you got to the Budlong property, and tell us more about that.
So when I came in to work that day, I was going to the food station to just got to get me something to snack on, get myself together before I would go over to the next warehouse to start working. This man, Day Day, approached me. He approached me 5 times. 4 out of the 5 times I denied him. I was like, no, thank you. He kept, hey, come over here. He was trying to beckon me to talk to him. And he started saying things that was connected to who I was, but I hadn't had a previous conversation at that point in time that I knew of. So he had mentioned he had housing, and if I needed housing, I would say, no, I'm okay. I was like, no, thank you, because the first time I encountered him, I didn't get a good vibe. I'm going to be very honest. I kind of got like a creep vibe. I got a vibe that it was somebody sent to do something. They were pretending to be somebody that they wasn't, like kind of like undercover, or sneaky, manipulative. And prior to moving to LA, I try to hide this part, but I pastored a church for 15, 20 years. So I was in ministry for years. I ran a church as an apostle prophet. I ran a ministry first and traveled, did prayer revivals and singing. And then I had a church that I ran with Mother Gloria Thomas in the Twin Cities of Minnesota. And so I ran a food shelf. I helped people get off drugs. I had a school, School of Messiah Institute. We had Sabbath services every Sabbath. I was very active in my community. So moving to LA was retiring from ministry, putting myself first, building myself as a man because I had been there for everybody. I took care of my grandmother for 10 years when she had a stroke. I've raised my sister's children. I was very active in my community, helping people. If somebody got sick, I was at the hospital. So helping people was not foreign to me. Picking up on people's energy is something that's not foreign to me. It's just that my mentality shifted because now I'm the actor. I'm not so much the minister, and now I'm in a tragedy trying to keep myself calm, and now this person is pulling me in. So basically, he mentioned he was a USC. Day said he was a USC professor, that he can get me into USC, that he could mentor me. I still was kind of pushing back, but the fifth time, oh well, my church, this church, they're hiring actors, and we need you to sing. And I didn't tell this man that I sung or that I was an actor. I told other individuals there. So I was like, who is he? How is he just saying all of this? So first thing I said is, are they paying? Because we need to make money. I moved here to be a paid actor. I didn't move here to volunteer acting services. I went to school and trained and had been paid to do movies and film. I've been in TV commercials, on radio, all of that.
Yeah. So
So,
basically, you told him no, but he kept on coming at you until you gave in to basically what
Yeah.
he wanted
Yeah.
you to do. Gotcha. And you also, sounds like what I'm hearing, you know how like nonprofits and different things like that should run to actually help people.
exactly.
Hmm.
So at that point, I sat down at the table with him, and the first thing I said to him was, and I'm glad I said this. This had to be the spirit that had me say this. I said, I do not allow people to disrespect me. But I said, I was raised with respect, and I respect my elders. So if somebody is older than me, I was just taught by my grandparents and my parents, you respect your elders. Yes, sir, no, sir. And I think, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Sometimes people think that when you're respectful out here, maybe in LA, that you're weak and that you're naive. But when you're from the
It's different
South,
here.
yeah, when you're from the
It's
South, you
different.
have that Southern hospitality. So I'm the type of person, you need something to eat, drink, or need to lay your head somewhere, So I told him I'm a respectful person. I went to school, got my degree. And what's the situation? And after all of that beckoning, seeming like he had all of these opportunities for me, no opportunity was mentioned when I sat down. Only was, do you have $800 for rent and $500 deposit?
Was this before you came to the house?
This was before.
Okay.
This was before. And I said to him, if anybody had that, do you think we'd be here? Like I said, this is a fire evacuee place. Like, who would have that amount of money? And if they did, why would I move into a place that's, what you're talking about? And so he was like, well, maybe we can work something out, and then he kept going on about he had this program and all of these different things, but he was more so talking about money when I sat down. And I'm like, I don't have that. People don't have that here, So we exchanged numbers, and I sent him the information to prove that I was who I was. I sent my social media, which come to find out he really couldn't be on there. I sent him. I did play Jesus in Dietrich Hatton's movie and music video,
Okay.
so that had just came out.
Okay.
So I was sending him like my acting reels and things like that to show that this is my resume. This is who I am. I'm not lying. I'm not making something up.
Yeah.
I am really an actor and an entertainer, and just going through a hardship. But my finances are getting to the point is depleted.
Right.
So that's how we met.
Okay.
And,
Okay. So give us a little bit more detail. So once you got into the house, tell me like the encounters that you had with the other, I'm going to call them illegal occupants.
Okay.
What encounters did you have with them? Because I didn't sign a sublease, but
Okay.
you know.
Well, first he had gave me a little heads up over the phone. He had gave me the address and gave me the code to move in. Oh, don't worry about any money. Don't even worry about that. Which infuriates me because he moved people in, making them think that he was going to help them. And then once we got in, he then started the process of getting us to sign a lease, and I wasn't comfortable with it. And then he'll use manipulation. And then once we signed it, he started the process of forcing us to pay him and trying to get money out of us, even though we were fire evacuees. The encounters with the people in the house and what he said was, "Oh, you got to watch out. They may try to run you out of there. We're in jail for a while." That's what Day had said, And so when I got in to the house and I woke up, there were like maybe 3-4 people in the kitchen talking about me. Who is this black man on the couch? Why is he here? I went through a season of being hazed by the individuals there. And hazing is something that people do in college. There's hazing and then there's gay hazing.
Explain that.
Okay, so hazing is a trial. It's like what they do to freshmen, where they treat you mean.
Mm,
They try to press you. They try to disrespect you. Try to treat you like you're less than. You're nothing. They
uh-huh,
try to. They start a psychological manipulative process. And a lot of times these people study dark psychology and the 48 laws of power, and there's nothing wrong learning that information and knowing it, but they use it to abuse the individual that they want to be their victim. They try to really gang up on their
okay,
victim
okay.
and try to cause them stress. So,
Gotcha.
hmm
Well, I am a member of the D9, so I
hmm
do. I've heard about that.
hmm
Uh-huh. So the hazing has occurred. Tell me, like, what else has occurred? Like, what other encounters have you had with the people in that particular property?
some of the encounters that I've had with people in the property over time, I started scratching on the bathroom door when I was in there taking a shower, trying to get in the restroom when I am nude and taking a shower. Um, individuals touching on my body while I'm in the bed resting,
I mean, like people.
like rubbing on my body, rubbing on my lower part of my left butt cheek and up and down my leg. That happened when I was resting one time.
So what did they do about it?
I mentioned it to him, and we talked about other stuff, but when I mentioned that to him, because mind you, I said I'm a person of being respectful, and he started to have a relationship with me where he was opening up to me, telling me his problems and wanting me to pray and asking me for advice. So when something would happen, I was trying to be gracious, not to just hit real hard with it, but I later on found out that tactic was manipulation that he was using against me. He was grooming me. When I mentioned it to it, he hurried up and got off the phone, but there was times where I would wake up and he was standing in the room, huffing and puffing and breathing, and it was actually him
Mm,
coming in my room unannounced several times, messing with my sheets. There was a time where there was cayenne pepper, a hot pepper put on my bedding to the point I woke up and my eyes were burning. Um,
so grooming you for
hmm
that's something
hmm
interesting
yeah.
that we should even go deeper into. We'll do it
hmm
on another podcast.
hmm
But grooming somebody for manipulation.
hmm
Mm,
hmm
yeah.
And then the other encounters that I had with people in the house, like in the beginning, um, were were you upstairs in the bathroom stumping? And I wasn't in the bathroom stumping. I was downstairs cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
I'd use a pot, and they complained saying that the pot wasn't clean. And so, because of what he had said, I'm the type of person. I said, I don't play checkers. I play chess. So first I want to say something, but then it's like, you know what? They are older people, so I'm an adult. I'm gonna remain respectful, but I'm gonna speak up for myself. So I started documenting it.
Okay.
But then somebody kept going in my room messing with my things, and so when I reached out to him to make a statement about it, he admitted that it was him coming into my room all of those times. He said that to me via text and over the phone.
Wow.
Yeah. And when it was happening, it was causing me to feel traumatized, shell shocked, like I couldn't speak, I couldn't open my and I feel just from like evacuating the situation I was just in and thinking about my living situation. I'm at this Airbnb and I was going through price gouging there.
Yeah.
I didn't get any help from the Airbnb or from CDC, or a lot of people fell through the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to an evacuation facility
Yeah.
because I felt that would be overcrowded. And I just don't really trust being in big spaces with a lot of people, which is why I was skeptical of even staying where I was working at.
Mm-hmm.
But I trusted him because he mentioned about God and was talking about the church, that it could be a decent place. But I found out that it wasn't. It was a den of confusion, because then I began to learn that he made a lot of fake promises to those individuals there, and he would say things to cause conflict between people, and then acting as if he doesn't know what's going on.
Okay. So, because we're both familiar with
Mhm.
that whole, well, everyone in California knew about the price gouging that was going on.
Mhm.
And so there was a lot of deception
Mhm.
going on within
Yeah.
the city. So I know you have shared with me like personal issues that have occurred or that started to occur
Mhm.
because like you began to just help me. You
Mhm.
began to
Mhm.
befriend me.
Yeah.
And so, like, getting my mail and things
Hmm.
like that, because people were stealing my mail.
Yeah.
And tell me about the ramifications, the retaliation that you have experienced since doing that.
Okay, so I'm gonna lead up to that. After I confronted him about coming in my room, and he began to talk to me almost as if we were in a relationship. Okay, like he was the baby mama and I was the baby dad,
Mm.
and it made me uncomfortable coming in the room. I had heard an allegation that mail had been coming up missing, and I hadn't had any way to check the mail, nor did I have a key. There was somebody, we'll call him Mr. Coyote, that will go and get the mail and bring it into the house. And he was so adamant of sliding my mail under the door, and it just made me uncomfortable. So what happened was, after I had met you, because you had posted and reached out about some unlawful things that was going on there, I had been praying, because after I was being harassed, sexually harassed, I mean, coming into my room, claiming I owed money that I didn't owe, lying to me. I just knew a real landlord would not do these things. So to just speed it up here, I said, Holy Spirit, reveal what's going on. And that's when you posted on the door. And I ended up reaching out to you. When I started helping you with your mail, when we met in person that first time, Mr. Coyote drove past on a bike, which is an individual that still stays in the house, who's like his right hand man now. But this person used to badmouth him in the beginning when I first got there, and said that he was a weirdo and he does weird things. So, and they were accurate about what they said about Day Day. Well, I got a text message from Day Day saying that I hope that you make the right decisions, talking to Miss Spates. You know, am I pronouncing your name right?
Spikes.
Spites, yeah. And then after that, I started to be harassed by him even the more. He moved people into the house, crowded the room. At one point, I was just the only person in the room for about the month of May. Then at the end of May, he sent somebody into the house, and that person for 3 days consecutively began to harass me, curse me out, threaten my life. They hit me, they pushed me, they barricaded me in the room, and then tried to sexually pressure me into a situation, and said that Day Day put them up to doing that.
So
Mhm.
you have that information, like, on camera or
Yes.
via text?
Yes, I have that text. I have videos of that person. This individual, we're going to call him, Kenny the Kangaroo. Kenny the Kangaroo told me that Day Day was on me and wanted me out because I quote unquote owed him money. But mind you, I got injured in March. I qualified for government assistance. And so I can't owe a nonprofit money because you're a nonprofit. And when the government gets involved to assist, they're the ones that's going to pay you. And how did I know about this? Day Day told me to apply for this government assistance that would then pay for my stay. And so even though that was applied for, Day Day still expected to get money from me, even though I was injured and could not work, even though Day Day claims to be a doctor, a USC professor. So it was the death threats, gang threats, me being hit on. I had my shoes stolen. 4 items of mine got stolen in the month of May. Then more threats came at the end of July. And at that point, I was just done. I said, I got to get up out of here or either get a restraining order. And Day Day convinced me to not do it and said, oh, we should work together. We're all black people. And this, he used a very bogus MLK speech to try to convince me not to hold him accountable. But I later found out that no, you got to hold those narcissistic sociopaths accountable for their actions.
Now, tell me about your interactions with, like, LAPD. Like, LAPD, the LA Superior Court System, kind of, give us like a summary of what you have encountered, because I know what I've encountered.
Yeah, very slow to respond. Very slow to respond. The first time I had to call them was on Kenny the Kangaroo. They took about an hour and a half to show up, but I want to say thank you because I called Day Day. Day Day did not answer. I called you. You answered. You showed up and have always been supportive. When they came, Kenny the Kangaroo, who threatened me and hit me, ran. So they never talked to him. On another occasions, I would just call. They wouldn't come out, but they were saying I need to go in and talk to them. Run around. Then November 12th, Day Day, after retaliating against me about 5 times because I helped you, and I reported to the county in July that I was being harassed, he gave a false apology, said he was going to work that situation out. So now we're in July, August, September. Things kind of died down. And then September, I called the county to make sure, hey, did payment go through? Just being a man, making sure things went through. Well, that triggered him to attack me and say that, oh, you're making my business look bad. But no, he had already been reported to the county. There had been other individuals prior to me moving in that had reported him. How did I know? Because he told me this, and I prayed with him about it. I prayed for Day Day in the beginning and gave him a prophecy. I saw him losing this house at the time, thinking that it was his house. But what I was seeing was he was trying to steal the house, but the victory was going to be given to you. So even with what we see and what we experience, when we pray more, we get more revelation. But on November 12th, Day Day called the police, lied, and said I was trespassing after taking payment from me. And by way of him saying that, I was physically assaulted and beat by the police where I have blood on the brain. I have issues walking and talking. My motor skills are off. My thinking pattern is off. I was tortured in their car for about an hour because he lied to the police. And they found out that the affidavit that he had was a lie. He lied about the length of time that I was in the house. I had moved in January, and I think he tried to make it look like I just had been there for a couple of weeks or something like that.
Did they arrest him?
They said what he did was illegal, but they did not arrest him. And those police officers left the scene before you can get there, although they said that if you didn't get there in 30 minutes, they would take me down to the station. But they were baffled that he lied to them, and they discovered the lie. They came back. I had to call the watchtower and a different supervisor to make them leave, because why would I want to give a report to police officers who assaulted me and didn't listen to me, didn't read me my Miranda rights, didn't get my ID or the lease that you gave me or look at written permission that I had to continue to be there. They didn't take any of that information. They just went off of what a registered sex offender, Day Day, said.
I know I've been to the 77 a lot, and I swear I can't seem to catch the detective there.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a shame, and it's really sad that Los Angeles doesn't have a program, a policy, or some other way, for us to get justice, even though we're filing police reports. And I get it. We know Day Day has filed many false police reports. So why is he still allowed to do so? So tell us, I know that you've gone to court basically to try to get a temporary restraining order, to try to, get this civil harassment. Just kind of tell us a little bit about that process for you.
So basically, with all the harassment that I went through, the intimidation, him being upset that I was helping you get your meal, and I tried to be discreet about it in the beginning, not because of anything, just trying to keep down confusion.
Yeah.
But he figured it out. He used my name to try to ruin your name with your nursing license. And I wasn't going for it because, first of all, I was taught you respect people, you respect your elders, you respect black women. My mother is a black woman, and I am not a person that believes in taking advantage of people. That just the pastor in me will not allow that to happen. So basically, I had to get a restraining order. I told him I'm going to sue him. The first process is the restraining order. And so I went down to the courts. I filled it out, and they processed it through. But self-help courts did an injustice towards me because they took out vital key evidence of my complaint and then filed it. And so I wanted to strike it down. Then the judge was talking about doing an amendment. I didn't get a chance to do that because I'm injured. I'm handicapped. It was hard to gather certain things, even though I had all the evidence in my phone, text messages, videos, and all of that stuff. So they gave 2 continuances. So recently, if you want me to share that, I got assaulted and my phone with the evidence got damaged. And so while I got damaged, it fell near water. So I have to allow my phone to dry out. But that's the process. I'm in the process of seeking a restraining order against him, other individuals whom he has used as third-party harassing individuals, and to sue him for all of the money that I paid him because he falsely rented to me. He told me it was his house, it was his home, he was the homeowner.
Yeah. So you've been through a lot. I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
just past trauma, this current trauma.
Yeah.
What advice do you have to people who are
Mm.
basically in these legal proceedings
Mm.
with these narcissists?
Mm.
And, like you're trying your best to keep your sanity,
Mm.
and get your justice. What
Yeah.
advice do you have to people?
Believe in yourself. Your voice is worthy. Your emotions are valid. Breathe, meditate, pray. Gather all of your evidence and file it as best as you can. Read over any of the documents that you put in. Make sure the individual's name is right, address. Study the penal codes to understand what language you need to use to get your temporary restraining order immediately. Because I've gotten a lot of them as a pastor just like that, but this one was kind of weird. But and I would say know that you have the victory because you're standing up for yourself. The justice system is supposed to give you justice, but as we talked about the power of God is the true judge that gives you justice. And know that you do have support, that you will overcome, but definitely take time to gather all of your evidence, whatever you have in your case. And if you have a lot of time, compile all of that, prepare, and file everything together if you can, and go forward and stand up for yourself and make your voice be heard. Do not be afraid to raise your voice, because individuals like that, they don't want you standing up for yourself. Make your voice be heard. And those who know somebody that's going through this, stand with them and make your voice be heard. If you're a pastor, community leader, parents, mothers, don't just let folks go to court by themselves. Be that witness, be there to support, be a community, support one another.
And that is so important because when you walk alone, boy, I mean, it can definitely make it very hard,
Mhm.
for you to go through. But I want to thank you for sharing your story with us
Yeah.
today, because something we do need to do is actually just kind of walk people through how do you prepare your exhibits?
Mhm.
How do you get them organized so that when you go to court, you're able to easily get to those?
Yeah.
But I definitely thank you for even encouraging me, helping me, because I was always afraid for you to come and help, because I saw what he did to my first witness and how he tried to annihilate my
Mhm.
first witness. But, now it seems like he's back focused on me, which is fine because he doesn't seem to see my guardian angels, and my Father in heaven standing with me and the heavenly host. So I want to thank you for coming today and actually sharing your
Yes.
story, because it is time for us to sit at the table.
Mm.
When the word says God will prepare a table before us in the presence of our enemies.
That's right.
And no matter how we get there, we're still standing and we need to get to the table. I'm getting to the table
Yeah.
because I'm going to sit at the table in the presence of Day Day.
Mhm.
And I don't care if people got to push me, drag me, I got to drag myself to that table. I'm going to get to that table. And I want to make sure when I get to that table, I'm able to sit, I'm able to stand. And just like today, on your behalf,
Mhm.
I looked Day Day right in his eyes
Mhm.
as I gave my responses. So, you guys, I want to thank you for coming with us on the Mental Health Collective today, as we've had our wonderful special guest share his story and what he's gone through. So, remember, if you're in Los Angeles, hit me up. You need someone to go to court with you. If you're in another city or another state, find someone who will stand with you, who will pray with you, because court can be very scary. And so, if you have someone there with you, it's so important, because lawyers are very expensive. Sometimes they are necessary, but a lot of times it's just financially better for us to try to represent ourselves. But whatever you do, seek legal counsel. And usually, most courts do have self help, but make sure you still advocate for yourself, because no one's going to represent you like you. So, thank you for tuning in with us today. Have a wonderful day.